like a year since I've uploaded anything on this YouTube channel, and I'm sorry about that, guys. I really am. But I also just really hate editing, and it was taking up a lot of my time as somebody who was working full time. So yeah, I really just couldn't keep it up. I did, however, start a TikTok, which is here. I wanted to make this video, I'd say long awaited, but nobody was waiting, just to update you on what happened with law school, because I was getting a lot of comments and even some emails about it. Thought I'd update you on what happened. Did I ever retake the LSAT? Did I reapply to law school? What the devil am I doing now with my life as a 26-year-old? You know, those kind of fun things. So let's tackle the first part, which is the LSAT. Did I ever retake the LSAT? A lot of people told me that I would get into the schools that I was waitlisted at if I but retook the LSAT and got well into the 170s. And this is very possibly true. The thing is, though, I'm not good at the LSAT. Specifically, I'm not good at logic games. I'm pretty good at, you know, the reading portion, pretty good at the other portion as well, the logical reasoning. But I'm terrible at logic games. There was no amount of studying that would make my brain work for those things. Even though principally I understood how logic games worked, it was just not working for me when I was actually taking the test. I'm a person with a lot of anxiety, so really what would happen is I would just be absolutely filled to the brim with anxiety and self-doubt and all of those things. So I was not enjoying studying for the LSAT, and I didn't feel like I was really succeeding in improving that much when it came to that section. So for that reason, I registered but didn't end up taking another LSAT. And when I cancelled that LSAT registration, I felt a weight lift off of me, and I can't say that that was a bad move, because I don't think I would have really done that much better than the 166. And that's the honest truth. I was just not good at that test. So I did not retake the LSAT. I also kind of have a lot of problems intellectually with the concept of the LSAT. I think that it's good that they've had to make changes, given how disadvantaged visually impaired test takers were with the test. But I also just think that it is a test that largely disadvantages lower income people. I know there are going to be some people who probably comment and say, oh no, but it allows you to, you know, like overcome your circumstances and anything that went wrong in college with this like amazing test, this panacea of the law school admissions world. I don't agree. I don't believe that standardized testing is a good thing. I believe the origins of standardized testing they're interesting for sure. So I don't agree. And I don't regret not taking that test. I also don't think that it would have in any way told you anything about myself that my resume or essays or any other materials would have been telling you. I don't think that a 173 would have made me, you know, a massively better potential lawyer or law student versus the 166 that I was applying with. That's because, one, I don't think studying for the LSAT makes you, you know, a massively better human being. It just made me a dangerously anxious one. And I also think, as I said, that it's a very problematic test. So, to answer that question in this long-winded way, I never retook the LSAT. I'm so friggin' happy about it. Now on to the main bit that I think people are interested in, which is how the application process worked for me the second time around. I will say I definitely revamped my materials, and I was very lucky to have help. I applied for the pro bono consulting program that Spivey Consulting had. Very, very happy to have been partnered with somebody at Spivey who was incredibly helpful at guiding me in, you know, just really revamping all my materials. They are definitely not there to write this stuff for you, nor would I want them to be, but it's really nice to have somebody there to tell you essentially what admissions care about, because if you are, you know, like I was prior to that experience, you're doing your best on the materials that you can find online, some of which are provided by consulting firms like Spivey. But in the end of the day, you don't have that much of an insight. So I think that my original materials were pretty okay. They were pretty fine. They were decent. They were good. But they definitely improved the second time around, which is the goal anyway. Now, I got some very fun comments on my original video when I was applying to law schools, basically telling me that I shouldn't have been applying to these schools, or that I was somehow elitist for only applying to T14s. I don't even know if that's entirely true. I might have applied to things outside of the T14, but either way, folks didn't really care for the decisions I was making about my own life and education, which is an interesting conceit. So, you know, I did take a look at my list, and there were some schools on my initial list that I actually didn't want to apply to the second time around. One school that shall not be named, I didn't apply to because my friend, actually, he just graduated from there. And even though I think he, on the whole, had a very good experience, the things he had told me about how race was being discussed made me really hesitant to apply, especially because I had an absolutely awful undergraduate experience when it came to, you know, diversity and social equity and all those types of topics. So I wasn't very keen to go into another PWI that was going to have, you know, this absolute heap of people who were, you know, willfully ignorant about how race operates in the United States. And you know what? It's fair enough. They had waitlisted me the first time around, so I made the decision of rejecting them on the reapplication process. So where I did apply was I applied to Harvard and Yale because you gotta throw your hat into that ring. I applied to Stanford because I had been to the Stanford campus and I really liked it. UCLA because great programs there. I'd also applied to Berkeley, which was sort of my like dream school. And they had rejected me on the first time around, I believe. Yeah, and that was, you know, minorly devastating. I had applied to a couple of other schools too. Here they are. You might be able to tell from how I'm telling you this tale that this is now so far in the rear view that it is actually hard for me to recall what I was doing. And this was only in 2021. The pandemic sure did something to my long-term memory. The result was pretty much that aside from Harvard and Yale, which rejected me, and the University of Washington, which accepted me, I was waitlisted everywhere. And I actually stayed on a fair amount of waitlists because, you know, in my heart, I was like, well, it's not a rejection. I'm going to try my best, even though I'd already been through this whole waitlist situation before. The years that I applied to law school, I believe, were some of the busiest years in terms of the sheer volume of applications. And that probably had an impact on what happened. I know that people got decisions to some of these schools with, you know, lower LSAT scores or lower GPAs or what have you, that were more favourable in prior years. And I think that that's just a trend in higher education and further education as a whole, and definitely graduate education as well, including law school. I think that it was impacted by the pandemic, absolutely. But I also think that, you know, as time goes on, things get more competitive. At least that's what it seems like. So I had a bunch of waitlists on my hands. It's not fun to be just on the cusp of every school that you want to go to. But the funny thing is about this time around with these schools, I actually had a very different attitude towards it. And part of that is because in the summer of 2021, I had found a new job. I had entered into a new niche of social media marketing for non-profits, for social impact campaigns, and it felt really good. It was a new industry to me. I didn't really know anything about social media marketing. I was not coming from a marketing background. I was texting people for a presidential campaign. That's what I'd been doing prior to that. And I'd also been working at a pretty large non-profit, sort of building out this workers' justice campaign. New job was a breath of fresh air. I was loving working there with my co-workers and everything. And so I actually felt positive for the first time about having a career in social impact. And I wasn't feeling positive about it before. As I'd said in my initial law school application video, I'm somebody who basically from the jump, I think since the time that I was in high school or earlier, had known that I really wanted to do social impact work. That was just the number one thing that I was interested in. And I was interested in kind of linking that with academia because I thought academia would be one of those places where I would fit in and the work style would really kind of fit me. And I think that academia still holds a great amount of interest for me. I know that there are other pathways. I just thought that legal academia might be the way for me to kind of, you know, merge all of these interests. I think that when you see your education as just a part of a journey of both, you know, sort of understanding the world and a career and of development, it helps a lot. I think that a lot of people enter into the law school admissions process very, very young, very fresh out of college, and essentially thinking, I don't know what to do with my degree. It's not really working out for me. Jobs are treating me terribly. And I want to be in this much higher earning field. I know a lot of people aim for big law for that reason, for example. Or in fact, even for the people who are doing social impact, they see it as the only way that they can have an impact. They aim for law school and they are dead set on being a lawyer. And that's the only way that they can see themselves going forward. I had reached a place, mentally, emotionally, whatever, where I knew that there are many pathways for me to have the kind of impact in the world I want to. And not only that, I had really reassessed my own relationship to work and to the idea of a career. And I knew that law school is just, it's just an educational opportunity. It's a way of learning how to think differently. And it's a doorway into more vocational opportunities, right? It is a vocational school and it's giving you the opportunity to work in a certain sector. That's what it is in the end of the day. So I basically realised I don't need to work in that sector to have a good life. And a bit more than that, I was seeing my friend graduate from law school and starting his process of taking the bar and so on and so forth. And I saw the jobs that he was applying to and I saw the salary ranges. And at this point, I was in a much better job. I was getting started in a career that I was actually liking. And I was seeing salary ranges in public interest that were lower than what I was earning. And I was noticing what my friend was noticing, which is that a lot of public interest law jobs are almost designed only for the children of the wealthy or for people who have generational wealth. And if that's not you, and you are the person who is trying to build generational wealth and is trying to help your immigrant parent, like my good self, then that's not for you. So really, my vocational opportunities were not seeming all so great. The job opportunities were seeming like they were going to massively overwork me to a degree that it would be hard for me as a person who is disabled. And I wouldn't really get much in terms of, an economic or financial reward in terms of my salary. So essentially, public interest law was not looking so hot. And you cannot convince me that you do a job just for the impact on society. I think that it's a deeply manipulative tactic that a lot of nonprofits use to tell you that you are having an impact and then underpaying you and really just not giving you what you need to survive. And that includes benefits of things like time off. and sick leave. So I realized essentially that what I want in a career isn't just one set path of, well, I must be a lawyer. It was, I want to be in a collaborative workplace. I want there to be creative work. I want there to be research work. I want my mind to be stimulated. I want to be able to rest adequately. And I want to be paid enough that I can help my family and help myself. And I realized that there are a lot of ways for me to achieve that. And so I looked at what I had, which was basically just an offer from UW. And by the way, that offer didn't include basically any scholarships or real aid. And I said, no, I don't need that. It isn't the only road for me. It isn't the only path. That's the thing, is people tell you don't go to law school. I was told it a million times. And I didn't listen because, you know, I am not that well represented in the legal profession. So I don't really care for people who are better represented in a profession to tell me not to go into it, right? Or to really impose a viewpoint. I think criticism is fine, but I don't like people, you know, saying flat out, law school isn't it. And here's the thing, law school is great. I'm sure a lot of people are going to head into very fulfilling careers from law school. But for me, it wasn't the only avenue to reach a place where I was comfortable in my life. And so it was very easy for me to look at my one somewhat paltry offer and say no. And it also helped me basically take myself off of a few of those wait lists. I only really stuck around on Berkeley and Stanford's waitlist, which are both local to me. And then when they kind of said, we don't have any room in our class, I was like, fine, that's absolutely okay. And that's the place I reached. And if there's anything that I want this video to do for folks, it's just tell you that it isn't black and white. There are a lot of avenues open to you to do the things you want. And also there are more ways of thinking about your career than just like, I must have this job title. That is my life law school update. I guess a few more details on work stuff. I actually have the place I was working at as a client now. I'd been promoted to a senior manager. And then I switched to consulting because I realized something much more important than all of this. And it is, I am British and I miss Britain. And so I am right now, as we speak, in the process of looking at apartments in London so that I can move home. Visiting my grandfather opened up so many things to me. I hadn't been able to travel, you know, in this whole past few years that I was in the United States for various reasons. And when I was finally able to do that, and I've been twice, I really realized I think I want to give the UK a try. I think that I miss M&S enough to move myself from California to London. And more than that, I think that I miss family and I really just want to be in a different city, a different scene, a different country. I want to be able to travel. So really what this whole process taught me is that my whole value system has changed. And I think that the pandemic did that to a lot of people. Travel certainly does it to you. But for me, my value system changed. I realized there are so many more avenues open to me. I'm so happy to say that I'm currently consulting in, of all things, TikTok and social media marketing for nonprofits and political campaigns. I've done some really cool stuff in this industry that I'm really very proud of. I get to write, which is something that I love as part of this job. Like I launched a newsletter as part of my current work. I'm writing a novel, which is a thing that I actually have done before and briefly had a publishing deal. It's a whole story. Maybe you want another video for that. But I'm currently writing a bit of historical fiction. I'm just so happy to be on a track where I have so many more things open to me as options. And I just recommend that, you know, people really reassess everything, and, you know, they really think about what they want in their life. Not just, you know, what is the job title I want, but do you want travel to be in there? Do you want time off to be in there? What is important to you? Is it a job, or is it art and leisure and rest and family? There's so much that makes up life, and sometimes we get really bogged down and focused on this one thing, and we need to be a lot more expansive. So this is my update. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be writing, happy to be where I'm at in life. I'm 26 years old and I'm still really young. There are still pathways that might open up for me into academia, for example. But for right now, I like where I'm at. That is my update. So no, I didn't go to law school, and I'm perfectly happy with that. All right, bye.